Hey everyone, this is my run on Shelke, the transparent Lufenia Plus stage on DFFOO global version of the game. And this run is going to be a full no boss turn run. That's right, the main boss and the sweeper minions will never get a single turn the entire fight. And that's mainly because I'm main partying Quistis, which is the Queen of Delay. Quistis does extremely well on this stage because she has AoE delays in her kit, and if you've used her S1 and S2, her additional ability replenishes both skills and can be used to uptick the Lufenia orb. Notice here that on my Quistis I have also set an Onion Knight LD call, mainly to give her a free ability use on her additional ability, which means that she can uptick the Lufenia orb twice. With Seed Rains and Bards in the party, that 2 times of skill refreshes is much more than enough to be able to kill off the boss before it ever gets a turn. So coming off to the fight, the start of the fight is probably the most difficult part because the boss is invulnerable until you kill off the sweeper, and if the boss gets a turn before the sweeper dies, he lets off a massive AoE HP attack that does full 100% HP damage. Essentially it's a run ender if you don't have strong damage mitigation. So the goal at the start of the fight is to actually kill off the minion before the boss gets a turn. To do that very consistently, I've used a Cloud of Darkness support, and what I've done is very simply on Quistis' first turn I have her Degenerator whip the minion to delay the minion by 3 turns, and then I swap her out immediately to Cloud of Darkness and use Cloud of Darkness burst finisher. This allows me to then immediately go into BT mode with Bards, and because Cloud of Darkness is in play, every burst mode turn that Bards takes will also result in Cloud of Darkness laser shooting the minion, and this adds up to significantly higher damage. Here is the end of Bards BT mode, and the boss is about to get a turn, but that's okay because you then have Seed Rains to kill off the minion and pull both Bards and Cloud of Darkness turn back before the boss using his LD. So the hardest part of the fight is completed here. Now that the minion is dead, the boss becomes vulnerable again, and the boss actually helps you because he gets 2 debuffs when the minions die. The debuffs actually last for 1 turn only, but because you have Cloud of Darkness and Quistis delaying the boss, the debuff actually lasts for the entire fight, which is a huge bonus using this strategy. So right before Cloud of Darkness goes off, I spend her turn using her LD followed by her Zero Form Particle to massively delay the boss, and this gives me the buffer to complete my setup and for Quistis to return and delay the boss to infinity. This is the second most difficult part of the fight because it is RNG dependent. What I've done is set a mock call on Seed Rains. Once the first sweeper dies, you need to use both Mock's base call and Mock's LD call, and you have to pray to RNGesus that one of these calls lands a Confuse proc. You have, I think, about a 10% or 15% chance per call to land Confuse, and if both call abilities did not land Confuse at least once, you will have to reset your fight and try again. So assuming you've done that successfully, Mock's call have landed the debuff, and you've managed to squeeze in a 3-turn delay with Cloud of Darkness, this fight is now essentially over because the boss will never even ever come even remotely close to getting a turn. All you have to do now is just target the boss with Bards and Cloud of Darkness, and eventually when Quistis comes back with Quistis as well, and have Seed Rains launch the boss every single turn. Pretty much that's it. The boss will summon the sweeper minions again. It will summon one first, and then after another HP threshold it will summon a second sweeper minion, and it will look very dangerous and all, but you have Quistis, the best delay unit in the game, and she can very effortlessly delay the entire enemy party without even using the summon mode. In case you're wondering about the Confuse, you really need a confused debuff on the boss at all times, because when the boss resummons the sweeper minions, it will once again become invulnerable to attacks, except if it's debuffed with confuse. And it must be confused, no other disables work, so paralysis or sleep, for example, will not work. Okay, so at 79%, the Lufenia orb will appear with only a 10 count. And the way you uptick the orb is to use Quistis' additional ability when the orb gets low. Before you use her additional ability, you must make sure that she has used up at least one of her S1 and S2 skills, and her skills are not at max count. For Quistis, max count is 12 skills of S1 and 5 skills of S2, the generator whip. So you must make sure that it's below that 12 and 5 number respectively. That is the first priority when she comes back to the field. When the Lufenia orb gets low, and you have some leeway here, as you can see, I did this when the orb count is at 6. You can actually wait for it to be a little bit lower, but I just decided to have that buffer. What you want to do is use Onion Knight LD Call on Quistis before you use her additional ability. As you can see, the Onion Knight LD Call provides one free ability use that you can actually use on Quistis AA, and this actually allows you to use her additional ability twice throughout the fight, which is more than enough to handle the orb, because you have Seed Rains killing off the boss very quickly here. Once you've used her additional ability the first time, you want to quickly make sure that her S1 and S2 are again below the 12 and 5 skill users, so that you can use it later on in the fight to replenish her skill users and uptick the orb. The orb will not uptick if you use her additional ability while either one of her S1 or S2 is at max skill count. That's why you really need to make sure to use her S1, S2 respectively. At this point, the boss has resummoned 2 sweeper minions, and there's really no point trying to damage the sweeper minions, because throughout the fight the boss will either heal them to full HP or resummon a new one with full HP if you manage to kill one off. So there's really no point to kill any of the sweeper minions. You can just focus damage the boss. To have an easy time with the 2 sweeper minions, you can break them instantly with Bard's LD, and you can use Quistis' Laser Whip S1 or her LD to delay all 3 enemies together. With Reigns can also delay all enemy targets using his converted HP plus attack after his LD, like this, or he can also use his EX to delay all enemies. So there's really quite a lot of delays going on with this party, and you can very comfortably push off the enemies to oblivion. If you really need to, you can just Degenerator Whip one of the minions if their turn gets too close, but just with her Laser Whip and her LD, you know, it's very easy to ensure the bosses never come close to ever having a turn. I used Bard's BT plus attack here because his BT aura is at 1 count, and it's really just to replenish his BT aura to full again. The best time to pop summon would actually be now, right after Bard's used his BT plus attack and replenished his BT aura. I decided to make this into a no summon mode run, mainly because I felt that the Lufenia orb was still healthy enough. I did do some testing with Quistis' additional ability, and I do think it is possible to complete the fight with Seed Rains and Quistis just with one of Quistis' additional ability, meaning that you may not even need to use the Onion Knight LD call. In one of my earlier attempts, the orb exploded at 4% boss HP, and that is, I think, with suboptimal play on my part. So I think if you are really pushing damage on the main boss in the middle, it might be possible to kill the boss with just one Quistis additional ability use. So boss goes bye-bye here, and the 2 sweeper ads are remaining. So without a Lufenia orb here, it's really easy. If Quistis, again, you can delay the 2 remaining ads with her LD, or you can just Degenerator whip them to death and push their turns to infinity. There's really many options here. Seed Rains at this point is neutered because the sweepers are immune to launch, but they are very squishy and they only have 1.8 million HP each, so they will die off pretty quickly from here. That's it for this video. As always, I hope you find the content informative, and if you enjoy the content, do leave a like, comment or subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Lufenia fight. Bye!